If you've looked at PC Part Picker lately, or if you're an IT admin staring at a server refresh quote, you've seen that it looks like a mountain. RAM is no longer a cheap commodity. It's a luxury. As of January 2026, DDR5-6000 32GB kits that were $90 are now hitting $400 at retail. On the enterprise side, high-density modules are retailing for over $3,000. In this video, we're breaking down the math of this supercycle and the domino effect it's triggering across the entire economy. Whether you're building one PC or managing thousands of servers, buy it now. It is a bad deal that is getting worse every month. Don't look back 6 months from now thinking you missed an opportunity. If you've been in the tech space for a while, you've seen this movie before. Memory is historically the ultimate boom and bust commodity. In 2013, a massive fire at the SK Hynix Wuxi plant knocked out 15% of the global supply. Prices jumped 30%, but once the fab was rebuilt, the bust followed. From 2017 to 2018, the smartphone supercycle saw prices triple, only to be followed by a massive 50% crash in 2019. From 2021 to 2023, the COVID-era spike led to the great memory glut of 2023, where Micron reported a record $5.8 billion loss. But don't feel bad for Micron. Their stock is up 310% in the last 5 years, with half of that happening in the last 6 months. Usually, high prices lead to overproduction, which leads to a crash. But 2026 is breaking the cycle. In the past, manufacturers would race to build more standard RAM to chase profit. Today, they are using that same capacity to build AI memory instead. Because AI memory is 10 times more profitable, there is no incentive to overproduce standard RAM, meaning the price crash we're all waiting for isn't coming. This isn't happening because of a factory fire, COVID, or geopolitics. This is a deliberate pivot towards AI and high bandwidth memory. To understand why, you have to look at the silicon economics. Manufacturers are reallocating their advanced node wafers, commonly referred to as 10 nanometer class wafers, away from commodity RAM. Standard DDR5 is relatively efficient to make. You can fit thousands of dies on a single 300 millimeter wafer, but high bandwidth memory is a physical monster. A single high bandwidth memory stack has a die area roughly 3 to 4 times larger than a standard DDR5 chip. And because these stacks are vertical, if even one layer is slightly off, the whole stack is scrap. This effectively doubles the wafer cost per gigabyte, compounded by the increased die size. As an example, an NVIDIA RTX Blackwell 6000 card uses 96 gigabytes of GDDR7. Because GDDR7 also uses these advanced 10 nanometer nodes, the silicon used to make that one GPU's memory could have produced around 1 terabyte of standard DDR5. Every time a factory chooses to manufacture a wafer of AI memory, they are physically deleting the capacity to make 32 consumer PC kits or an entire enterprise server. The supply isn't being delayed, it was never born. RAM is the first domino, but the ripple effect is hitting things you can't even touch. Manufacturers are downgrading specs to hide costs. We're seeing 2026 laptops that should have 16 gigabytes of RAM shipping with 8 gigabytes of non-upgradable memory, just to stay under the $600 price point. To compound that impact, because RAM and flash share the same factory space, SSD prices are trailing right behind RAM. Historically, the big three public cloud providers, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud, have been inflation-proof. But 2026 is different. Starting in October 2025, we saw the first adjustment to memory-optimized instances. By January 2026, those costs have climbed 5 to 8%. Their stockpiles are empty, and they are in a buying frenzy. Standard DDR5 enterprise server RAM is being outbid by hyperscalers. TrendForce projects that DRAM prices will jump 60% in Q1 2026 alone. Now you might be thinking, what about all those new factories? We've heard about the massive investments under the CHIPS Act, like Micron's $100 billion mega fab in Clay, New York. Surely that's going to help here. The reality is that these fabs are a mirage for the short-term market. While the concrete is being poured, these fabs won't reach volume production until mid-2027 or 2028. It takes years to install and calibrate the extreme ultraviolet lithography tools needed for these 10 nanometer class wafers. Even when they come online, Analysts estimate that these new US-based fabs will only increase global DRAM supply by about 5 to 7%. Most of that capacity isn't for cheap RAM either. It's being built specifically to produce high bandwidth memory in the next generation of AI silicon. And if you were hoping to hide out in the DDR4 market, that safety net is officially gone. In previous cycles, you could keep your old platform and buy cheap DDR4 to ride out the storm. But as of January 2026, the major manufacturers have shifted over 90% of their legacy production lines to DDR5 or AI memory. DDR4 32GB kits that used to be $50 are now crossing $170. We are seeing the end-of-life spike. Because nobody is making new DDR4, we are now fighting over dwindling existing stock. If you have an older server or gaming PC that needs a memory boost, the time to buy was yesterday. By this time next year, DDR4 won't just be expensive, it will be extinct at retail. Here's the takeaway. If you're an IT admin, move your refresh cycles forward now. If you're a consumer, stop waiting for a bargain. In 6 months, today's prices will look like a bargain. I'm Dan, and I'll catch you in the next one.